all this man wanted was some money so he could go back home, and he ends up dead. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's me, Ohemaa MaMokowa, aka Queen MaMokowa. And I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. You were able to spend time with your loved ones, your family, your friends, eat some good food, and get some much needed rest, because you know what I did? I made sure I did that. Yes, I cooked. I was on my feet for like 12 hours. After I ate, a couple of hours later, I was, yeah, that was me. But yeah, enough of that. I do want to say I am so thankful for all my subscribers, new, old, somewhere in the middle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I say this all the time, so this is not anything new. Thank you so much for your support, your comments, your likes, all that good stuff. So, of course, as I already said, thank you, thank you, thank you. New, old, somewhere in the middle, thank you. Now, if you have not subscribed, I think you should go ahead and do that. That way, any single time there is some new content, you will be notified. All right, now we're gonna get into it. One of my Twitter followers recommended that I review Black Mirror because we just so happened to be talking about Black Mirror. And I was like, okay, sure. Her name is Kita. I believe it's Kita B on Twitter. Hey girl, hey. Thanks so much for that recommendation. So I did the poll, and it was actually a tie between season 3 and season 5. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do season 3 and then I'm gonna do season 5. So today we are doing season 3 of Black Mirror. I believe there were about 6 episodes. So if you don't know, Black Mirror is a very futuristic show. It places people in different scenarios. And whew, I'm just gonna get into it now. So the first episode of season 3 is called Nosedive. So pretty much with Nosedive, there is this woman who is like, she's like social media obsessed. And I believe in this world, how it works is, you know, if you're pleasant, if you're nice, your score goes up. And if you do something like, if you're too loud, if you talk too much, if it seems like you're trying too hard, your score goes down. So it did get to that point. Like, you know, she was a bridesmaid, or I believe she was supposed to be the maid of honor for one of her oldest friends. And while she was at the airport, I believe she missed her flight, and she was really frustrated, and she started to yell. So everyone that was around her, they were like, do, 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 do. And her score just kept going down. Like, it was really bad. Like, she was in the 4s, and then it went down to the 3s. And with the way it was, it's like, oh, we're sorry that you missed your flight, but you can go ahead and be part of the premiere program. Oh, your score is so low. I'm so sorry you can't. And the person was trying to tell her, ma'am, I'm sorry, you cannot because your score is low. And she tried to explain, oh, it wasn't my fault, this and that. And it's like, the more she kept talking and getting loud, her score went down, and it was just a mess. She got a car. She didn't know how to work that car. Pretty much she ended up being in different predicaments that led to her score being very, very low. And eventually she did make it to the wedding, and she had practiced what she was going to say to her best friend. Mind you, the best friend had told her, I don't want you to be there. I don't want you to come. You're like a 2-something, and we look down on 2, so I don't want you to be there. And she still showed up anyway. Old girl was a hot mess. But she was like, you know what? You guys are going to hear what I had to say today, and you're going to have it whether you like it or not. And she was like, every single time that she would start to move around, her friend's husband at this time, he keeps following her, and she was saying, oh, you know, she was like this, she was like that, she helped me out, but this, that, and the third. And it ended with her getting kicked out. She ended up in, I want to say, a mental institute. I'm not sure. But she ended up sort of like in solitary confinement. She comes up to this glass door. This other guy comes up to this glass door. She's like, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at me? Don't look at me. And he's like, don't talk to me. And that's kind of how it ended. So she's stuck in this place. What I got from this episode is obsession can lead you to do crazy things. She didn't kill anyone. She didn't hurt anyone. But it's just like she was so bent on being perfect. Because, and I didn't mention this, she also tried to get a house. But it's like, oh, you know, this is only reserved for people who have a 4.5 or higher. And she had like a 4.2. And I was like, oh, we're sorry. We can't consider you. And it's like, is this how it's going to be the next 15, 20 years? So, yeah, I'm like, I don't want to ever end up that obsessed. So that was the end of season 3, episode 1, Nosedive. For me personally, this was my favorite, if not one of my favorites of season 3. Now we'll jump into the next episode. Season 3, episode 2 was called Playtest. Now with this American guy, he ends up in the UK. We don't really know what he was in the UK for, but he's in the UK. He ends up being broke. Mind you, he hooked up with some girl and not quite sure how he ended up broke, but he ended up broke. He didn't have any money. So this girl that he knows was like, you know what? I know about this program. I know about this gaming system that you can do. They will pay you money. So this guy ends up in this, well, he ends up trying out, you know, doing the different tests and stuff like that. And I wasn't sure where this was going to go. He ends up in this kind of sort of spooky, like 17th, 18th century house. And he's put in such a position where it's like, you know, they had this gadget around him and they had put something in his body. And, you know, the woman is like, you know, like, what's a safe word so that we know when to take you out? And he was like, you know, this is the safe word and things like that. So he's brought in contact with his fears. No, this is where it was weird. So it was like there was nothing, like there was no TV, there was no telephone, none of those things. So it's pretty much like he was just left with his thoughts, and he was talking to the lady who was guiding him through this experiment game, whatever you want to call it. So he sees a spider and he's like, I see a spider. The spider is really big. And the woman is like, what spider? What are you talking about? And he's just like, so he squishes it. You can hear him squishing the spider. And the lady is like, okay. I guess, you know, that was building on your fear. So the next thing that he comes in contact with is, I guess, this guy that used to bully him. And you would think it's real, but he was able to like walk through him. So it's like, okay, obviously this is a figment of his imagination. This is not real. So he goes into the kitchen. Next thing you know, it's like a spider. Oh my gosh, it's so scary. It was like a spider with the bully's head on the spider, or the spider had consumed the bully or whatever. It was crazy. So as the experiment progresses, the girl that he hooked up with comes into the house. And she's like, so we think. So she's like, I took all your money while you were asleep. Why do you think I told you to call your mom? Why didn't you call your mom? And it ends up not being the girl. But he felt pain. So he's saying, I need to get out. I need to get out of this house. So the woman that is supposed to be helping him, mind you, it ended up being glitchy. So there was a time where he wasn't even sure what he was doing, what he was supposed to do. So he was trying to take initiative and do whatever he thought he needed to do. So he's walking up these stairs, and I guess he had walked a whole bunch of stairs, so he didn't feel like it. He did it anyway. And the woman is like, you can do it. You need to do this so that, we can get you out. He climbs up the stairs and he's like, so my mom is going to be behind this door when I open it, right? And she's like, what are you talking about? No, she's not. No one's going to be behind there. So he opens the door. He goes in, closes the door, and the woman is like, I trapped you. There is no portal. And it's like, this was giving me Inception vibes in a way. So it's like you led him upstairs into this portal, but then you're telling him that this is not the portal, and they ended up taking him away. Mind you, this was all part of the game. This wasn't really happening. So in the game, he goes to his mom, he ends up back home to his mom, and his mom is like, who are you? Where is my son? I had to call my son. So he's kind of like, Mom, I'm here. And then his mom just wanders off. When this part happens, this was unexpected as well. His phone rings. Now, I didn't mention this before, but before the experiment started, he took a picture of all the different devices that he saw. And I think he sent a picture to either his mom or the girl. So his phone is ringing. His mom is calling his phone. So he ends up going into a shock. He's like, and he just stops like that. You know what I mean? He died because the phone triggered some of the neurons that were in his body, so he ends up dead. Just like that. All this man wanted was some money so he could go back home, and he ends up dead. Over this gaming experiment or whatever it is you want to call it. That was... I was like, wow, I did not see that happening. Whew, this next one. Season 3, episode 3 was called Shut Up and Dance. Oh my gosh. This one. So this kid is being taunted by hackers because apparently they had some inappropriate images, video footage of him. And so they're like, do this. And they show him the video image. They show the video footage that they have of him. They're like, do this or we're going to spread this like wildfire. So so first they tell him, follow these instructions and do as I say. So they tell him, take this box. They don't do it, but they do it through someone. So he gets the box, every little thing that he did, every step of the way, he let them know what he did. He ends up in a hotel with some guy, and he's like, Mindy sent me, that's what they told me to say. So then he ends up with the photo. He rushes into the bathroom. He ends up throwing up, probably because they showed him what they have of him. And if he doesn't, probably the same thing that they told the kid, that if you don't do it, this is what we're gonna do. So then the guy tells him, we need to go to the bank. Well, that's not what they said. But they got in the car. As they're in the car, they end up picking up, I guess, this guy's friend, and he just ended up they just dropped her off at home. So the hackers are like, okay, this is what you need to do. Get here by this time, or this is what will happen. They get there, and when they get there, the hackers tell them, get into the cake. They dive into the cake, and they see some things which are paraphernalia for robbery. So they're like, they have 5 minutes to figure out what. And it's like they could also hear what the guys were saying. So the kid is like, 5 minutes for what? And the hackers are like, who's cop, who's robber? Not cop. The hackers are like, who's driver, who's robber? So the kid goes in there with the gun, puts on the shades, puts on the hat, goes in there and commits a crime. He robs the place. So they end up some way, somehow they end up in the woods. So they go in the woods and he's told that he has to fight some guy because the guy is like pretty much same story. If you don't do this, we're gonna, put all the pictures out there. So they end up fighting. And they show different images, different things going on with the other people who had been hacked. It was this woman who, I guess she sent like a racist email out. That email, that they put that email out on Front Street so people knew what she had done. The guy, he returns home and his wife is upset and she mentions Mindy and she's crying. So they put it out there and they send this emoji face, like this ugly, it was such an ugly grin. Like they were so proud of what they had done. As the kid is walking away, he's bloody. The guy that he fought is nowhere in sight. So we already know that the kid killed that guy in the fight. So the kid ends up being arrested. The black guy who delivered the cake to the kid, his family is angry with him because they're like, oh, so you're a pedophile? What kind of crap is this? What kind of nonsense is this? So he's in trouble. And then even with the kid, while he's about to get arrested, his mom calls him and is like, they're saying it's kids. They're saying it's kids. What did you do? They're saying it's kids. So we figure out that he did something with some kids. And he ends up getting arrested. And before he got arrested, after he spoke to his mom, he got that same sneaky, ugly meme emoji, whatever, from the hackers. So at the end of all of this, I was like, so they were gonna put it out anyway. Whether they followed the instructions or not, all those people who were affected by the hackers were going to get screwed over anyway. They just wanted to play tricks and games and whatever with them. I was like, wow, you put them through all of that for that. So they were playing mind games and I was like, that's crazy. So I did like that one. It was okay. But that was crazy. Because I wasn't sure. Again, that's what I'll say about Black Mirror is you think you know how it's going to end, but you're not sure because this was the 3rd episode and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to end either. I was like, oh, maybe they're going to complete everything and they'll be done. Or, maybe once the picture has been put out there, the kid is going to commit suicide or whatever. But it just ended with the kid getting arrested. So not sure if the kid ended up staying in jail. It's like, it was just left for open interpretation as to what happened with each of those people involved. So I did like this episode. I like this episode more than I liked episode 2, but episode 1 is still up there for me. So that was Shut Up and Dance. Season 3, episode 4 was called San Junipero. So Yorkie and I guess her friend Kelly, they're out and about, they're having a good time, they're at the bar, just dancing together, whatnot, and I didn't realize until midway that, well, I'm not going to say midway, but towards the end, Yorkie is on her deathbed. So she's just replaying different things that she wants to happen, but as her younger self. And Kelly also, because they took this device, and they put this device on Yorkie and they also put that same device on Kelly. So, they're able to interact with each other in the cloud, which I thought was actually pretty cool. spending time together, spending the night together, driving around, enjoying the beach. They were able to do all those things. So when it was time for her to pass, Yorkie was actually like, oh, I'm getting married tomorrow. But Kelly arrived at the hospital, because Kelly wasn't at the hospital. I think she was at the nursing home or something like that, the retirement home. So she comes in because, of course, she's aware of what's going on with Yorkie. And she talks to the husband, and she's like, I think I should be the one to get married to her. So they end up, once again, they take the device and they put it in there, and they put the device on Yorkie, and they also put the device on Kelly. So they did end up getting married in the cloud. They did get married, but a few hours later, they got into an argument. Because Yorkie said something to irritate Kelly, and Kelly is like, what? Like, what are you talking about? What do you know? I was with him for talking about her husband. I was with my husband for a very long time. I was with my husband for almost 50 years. And we lost a child at 39 years old. So don't tell me that I don't know this, or don't tell me that I don't know that. She ends up driving off, speeding through a barricade. And I'm not quite sure if she, went into another life. But all I know is at the end, she was like, I'm ready. So unfortunately, she ended up passing on as well. And she was buried next to her husband and her daughter. But in the cloud, she was still with Yorkie. So I found that, it was one of the more vulnerable episodes. It was very interesting. That's something I can say about every single episode that I've seen of Black Mirror, including season 3. Very interesting, using different devices to put people into different situations, or see how certain situations would be in the future. So that was an interesting one. I did like that one. That was an interesting episode indeed. So that was season 3, episode 4, San Junipero. Season 3, episode 5 is Men Against Fire. So in this one, you have someone called Stripe. Stripe is in the army. He's, in combat. He's in different battles and such. And I guess his commander, Ray, she's like, do this, do that. So, he's in battle doing what he needs to do. This was his first battle, actually. So he ends up killing a roach. I'll explain why it's in quotations for now. He ends up killing a roach. Now, after he does this, he ends up hearing high whistling sounds. So, he goes to sleep, and it's like, it's a sexual dream. He has a sexual dream. He goes into battle again the next day, goes back to sleep, and it's like the same thing. He's engaging in sexual activity, at least in the dream. He wakes up and he sees everybody's fingers twitching, like it's twitching like this. Everybody's fingers are twitching. So he doesn't say anything. He just sits on his bed and he looks around. He gets up, walks around, and sees what's going on. So once again, they have another, because they're in battle to kill the roaches. So while this is happening, one of the higher ups gets killed. So at this point, Ray is irritated. Stripe is still trying to figure out what's going on. He's just following her lead as to, what should be done. So Ray is like, follow me. We need to get these roaches. And I'm not sure if the mask, and I'll explain this later. I'm not quite sure if the mask was turned off at that time, but he actually saw 2 people, a woman and her son. He helped them escape. her husband did get killed. I think Ray killed him, I think. So as he's trying to escape, Ray tries to stop him. He gets a gun and he hits her in the face with it, and he escapes. Ray is no longer unconscious. So she wakes up and she sees what's going on. She sees them running across the yard. Ray sees them running across the field, and she's like, yeah, you better run. So eventually Ray finds out where they are. Stripe finds out that the roaches are actually not harmless, but Ray kills the roaches while he's there. She ends up hitting him as retaliation because, you know, he did hit her earlier. He ends up hitting her. She ends up hitting him with the gun. Next thing you know, he's in this room. Mind you, the first time that he started to experience the high-pitched sounds, he let the doctor know, and the doctor was like, oh, you're fine. So now that he's been put in this room, probably because Ray said something, Ray did something, this is where it gets even more interesting, because we find out that they put a mask inside him. So the mask that they put inside him is so that he can see what they want him to see. So the roaches weren't bad, but they wanted him to believe that they were bad. So they would turn it on and turn it off. This is what we want you to see. This is what we want you to believe. So as I'm thinking about it, like as he's talking, he's like, yeah, you know, you need to exterminate them. And it's like, yeah, you know, we put the mass implant because, you know, we wanted you to see what we wanted you to see. And because, you know, the roaches are substandard, we need to exterminate them. We need to get them out of the way. And it's like, this sounds like some, you know, if you know, you know, but, you know, they're substandard. You know, we have to get rid of them. I was just like, wow. As he was talking, I was like, oh. So in a way, the mask had him under hypnosis. So he wasn't even sure what was real or what wasn't real. So the guy gives him an ultimatum and says, I can either reset the mask so that you forget everything that happened, or we can put you in incarceration. And he's like, no. So he's like, okay, I'm going to let you see what your life is going to be if we don't reset the mask. Or if you choose to have the mask taken out, this is what's going to happen and this is what you're going to see. So this is where he's able to clearly see everything that happened in the past, I believe 3 days. So here he's able to clearly see that, you know, the people that he was killing, they were not roaches. They were regular people. Like, he was able to see everything clearly. It was pretty graphic. He was able to see how he killed them, what he killed them with, the suffering and all that stuff. So it ends with him in front of his house, I guess imagining that his wife, girlfriend, whatever, is outside and ready to come and give him a hug. And then we realize that he's just standing there, a tear or tears dropping from his eyes, and he has like a slight smirk. What? So that was Men Against Fire. Trying to eliminate the substandard people. Trying to eliminate the substandard people. And these people were called roaches. And I didn't understand. I'm like, why are they being called roaches? Because I could see the same thing that he saw, but he was under hypnosis and they wanted him to believe that what they were making him believe that he saw is what he saw. But they were like normal people. They were killing normal people for nothing. All because they were different. But They're different. They consider it substandard. Sound familiar? If you know, you know. I'm not gonna say anything because you know how YouTube is. So, season 3, episode 6 was Hated in a Nation. So with Hated in a Nation, it was really interesting because they showed, bees and bees pollinating, but I didn't think much of it. So this journalist said something, I'm not sure if it was offensive, but she said something about a disability activist. So what ended up happening was she irritated people. So as she was walking down the street, they're like, you're disgusting, and all that kind of stuff, calling her different names. And she was kind of like, brushing it off. When she got to her house, someone delivered her a cake. And, she's home with her husband and she ends up eating the cake. As she's eating the cake, she goes online and different people are saying, oh my goodness, she's such a, she's a horrible person. Hashtag death to Joe Powers, because that was her name, Joe Powers. A few hours later, the police are called to her house. The woman is dead. So they're not sure what happened. They thought, the husband did it. Like her neck was slashed. They were like, oh, maybe the husband did it, yada, yada, yada. They found out who had the cake delivered to her. So they were like, oh, maybe it's this person, maybe it's this black teacher. She's not the one. I mean, she did send the cake, but, the next person was someone called Tusk. Tusk went on I guess Tusk is supposed to be some rapper, whoever your favorite rapper is, Future, whoever. I guess that's who he's supposed to be. So this kid looks up to Tusk. Tusk is one of his idols. He wants to be just like Tusk when he grows up. And Tusk straight up tells the kid, yo, this kid is whack, man. He needs to stop doing that. This kid doesn't know how to dance. He just needs to quit. Like, he's being a jerk. You know what happened? He pissed off a whole bunch of people. They told him off about himself. You know what happened? There goes the hashtag death to again. So he steps out, he gets to smoke. Next thing you know, after he inhales, after he gets a few smokes in, he's like, my head, my head, my head, my head, my head. So they take him to, the hospital to get an MRI scan. Some way, somehow, he ends up dead while getting an MRI scan. Like there's blood in the MRI equipment. This is where they saw a bee. And it's kind of like, what? So they figured out that this was something called Game of Consequences. So, I guess how to play the game is you do hashtag death to, you mention you put the name of the person and their picture. And after 5 o'clock, the ADI, the bees or the bee will attack that person and, that person will be dead. Crazy. So this woman, she ends up disrespecting some historical building. She pretends to be releasing herself on the building. And of course that irritated people. So here we go again. Hashtag death to, all this kind of stuff. So they figured out that these are bees that are, getting into people's bodies and people are doing whatever to stop it. This is why Joe, cut her, slit her throat so many times. This is why Tusk banged his head so that, all the agony would stop. And they were trying to protect the woman. So, the police or I should say the detectives, they were doing the best that they could, but the bees, they were so strong because like they all came together. They pressed hard on the glass, got into the house, made it through the vents, and one of the bees ended up in the girl's nose. And as soon as that happened, I was like, well, she's done. And she ended up foaming at the mouth. The woman one of the female detectives covered her ears, and she just kept shaking, and then she was done. This is what was interesting. Because the ADI know their target, even though the female detectives were in there, they didn't do anything to them. After they had taken care of their target, they just looked. And they just flew away. So, upon some further investigation, they figured out the person who was behind it. It was some guy. I'm not quite sure, what his relevance was in this. Well, I mean, I get what his relevance was, but I don't know if he was a former cop or what have you. But he ends up shaving his whole head and all these kind of things. And I guess he was ready to skip town. I don't know if he knew that people were going to try to find him. But yeah, that's crazy. He was able to control the ADI. Like that was wild. That episode was wild. It even got to the point where one of the female detectives faked her death so that she could go undercover and find the man. And she did find him, and she texted the other female detective, found him. The other woman, she deleted her text so that, it's like there's no trace of her. They don't know anything that's going on because she was involved in some proceedings. And they wanted to know where that woman was. And she was like, after all these incidents happened, after those incidents happened, I lost contact with her. I haven't heard from her in months. When she had, but the woman, like I said, had gone undercover to try to find out who this guy was. So the bees were like going after various different people. And it's just like, wow. So that was another episode that made me think, what if this really happened to certain people? I'm not saying any names. Season 3, I liked it. I liked season 3 more than I liked season 1. I had to rewatch season 5. Season 3, I think the theme was like agony, vulnerability. There was some death, but season 3 was crazy. You had obsession, you had doing whatever it takes so that you can go home. You had doing whatever it takes so that your reputation is not ruined. You also had, okay. So episode 1 was doing whatever it takes to be accepted or to climb up the social status ladder. Episode 2 was doing whatever it takes so you can get money to go home. Episode 3 was I'm going to do whatever it takes so that whatever information these people have on me doesn't get out, just to be screwed over in the end. Episode 4, I'm going to do whatever it is that I need to so that I could be with the person that I love. Even if she leaves me, whenever I feel it's my time to go, I'm going to go as well, and we're going to go and be together. That was kind of like the happily ever after. Everything else was just sad. All the other episodes were sad. Episode 5, I find out the truth. I've been lied to so that I can hurt innocent people. Now I have to make an important choice of what I think is right. Or at least what I think is going to be right for me. Because if I don't do what they want, they're going to screw me over. And of course, episode 6. This person is hated by the whole nation, so we're going to take them out. Jeez. So yeah, if you haven't seen season 3 of Black Mirror, I do recommend it. Most of these episodes were good. Some of them I was like, well, not really. I liked all of the episodes, but my favorite one was Nosedive. And I also want to say Shut Up and Dance. And Hated by the Nation. Those are the 3 that I really, really liked. Now, once again, as I stated, I recommend watching all of them. Those are my 3 favorites. I'm not opposed to watching season 3 again, but I am going to watch season 5. Going to give my review on that one as well. So yeah, check out season 3 of Black Mirror. You can find it on Netflix. It's a very interesting show. It's a futuristic show. Some of these things I really do hope will happen in the next few years, but hey, let's see what happens. So as usual, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If you have seen season 3 of Black Mirror, let me know which episode do you love, which episode don't you love. Let me know what you think about, Black Mirror. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching. Madame Wase.